What's up YouTube, Capital G here, DN Duel commentary. I think that this is going to be a fantastic match. I will tell you guys in a second why. We've got Probability at the top. I think he was on my channel just yesterday. Looks like he's playing the hat deck. He opens up with Yugioh and gets a bottomless. Magic at the bottom. Magic plays Frog OTK-ish type deal deck. It is, and I'm not gonna lie, he's beaten me twice with it, and both times, like, my rating was well, like in the 1700s. Like, I think I'm mid 1700 right now. Both times he beat me. I mean, it went game 3, but the dude's really fucking legit. His rating is 1792 right now. I think he's 4th on DN right now. I'm like 9th or 11th for some shit like that. Why did I just throw my rating in there? Shameless plug. Probability is 1716, so we got some good players here. And what's good about his deck is he plays Lancer, he plays Frogs. It's really difficult for the hand deck to kind of it's difficult for these type of decks to kind of figure out what you're doing, because a lot of times you can just set monsters. I know he plays Needle Ceiling in the main deck. You know, he runs a whole lot of funky tech like Infernal, Reckless Summon, which can help him OTK. His opponent can wall up with all these cards, but he also plays Trap Stun. I'm not trying to dick ride or anything like that. I'm just giving you information on his deck. So this is not a deck where you can overextend against, because he will Needle Ceiling that ass. And, you know, a lot of times, I mean, if he sets a monster, it's like, okay, you're attacking into a Rodentonin or a Duke Frog or a Mother Grizzly, and those aren't things that you really want to attack into with hands, because your hands aren't really going to trigger. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this duel. And you see Probability sets a monster, and I mean, you just assume that that's one of the hand cards, you know what I mean? If he tries to put too many on board, you know, there's a chance he could get hit with a Needle Ceiling. I think there's a strong chance, and I'm not gonna lie, there's a slight chance that I will net deck Magic's deck because it's just so fun to play. And I mean, he's the only person who's like consistently beaten me with my Bougie. It doesn't matter if I go first or what. Like, I've had Yamato in everything I wanted, and I still get beat by him, and it's just like, wow. So, and then the last thing is, he doesn't play Treeborn Frog. So, like, even though he plays 3 swap frogs and all that shit, you're not relying on Treeborn to essentially, like, you know, save you or anything like that. So, right now we're just seeing both players wall up. I'm not quite sure who this favors. Quite frankly, I would probably have to lean Magic a little bit, because if your Probability and you're putting all your hands on board, what purpose does that serve? Are you just going to start summoning and attacking? I mean, are you going to flip summon and try and exceed? Like, what exceed do you go into? It doesn't really, like, it don't really help your cause. You know what I mean? All right, so he flip summons or Myrmilio. We could see a Needle Ceiling here. Okay, no Needle Ceiling. He goes into an Exceed. I am not gonna fucking count these cards up. So if he exitons, he's gonna exiton. I don't think he can, because I think he has more cards, but I'm not counting them up. I think he's gonna go into Dweller, but Magic does run traps. And the thing about it is, it's like, maybe that's what people like never got about Frog decks. It's like, maybe Frogs could be a good deck without having to use, or without having to rely on something like Treeborn Frog. Because Treeborn Frog erases an entire element of the game for you. It basically says, hey, I can't play traps unless I play like one of them, like, you know, Treacherous Trap Hole. But it's like, if you didn't use Treeborn Frog and rely on Monarchs, you could still have a really good engine. Swap Frog, Rodentonin, Duke Frog, really good cards. You know, we won't even go into Substitute. I mean, he's ridiculous too. So you see Abyss Dweller tries to activate his effect, and he gets Breakthrough skilled. So, and it could kind of be a problem if Probability only plays 1 Dweller, because basically it's like you took your shot with Dweller and you didn't accomplish what you needed. And a lot of those other rank 4s aren't going to do a ton against the Fraud deck. Blackhorn will get it in a little bit because he does damage, but he actually will trigger, what do you call that guy? He'll trigger Duke Frog. For some reason, I thought Duke Frog had to be destroyed. Nope. Alright, so play goes back to Magic. Trying to think of what type of side decking options we're going to look at. But you know what? Let's not even worry about that. Let's just try and get through game 1. Anyways, I still think that this is a hand card. You know, I think that... Okay, so we're going to see a Mother Grizzly Ram, potentially. And if he does Ram, okay, now we see Duke Frog. go into attack mode. Kind of surprised at that. He must just want to get Dupe Frog dead to search out something better. So we see probability attack with Mother Grizzly or excuse me, Magic attacks with Mother Grizzly. You see how many watchers he gets? Magic is legit. Alright, so Mother Grizzly is going to get sent to the graveyard and try and activate. I wonder if we're going to see a warning. Okay. I didn't even think honestly, I didn't think it was going to happen, but it happened. Quite frankly, I'm a little shocked. We could see a crash here, which would cost him 16. Thank goodness that Dweller doesn't have a, what's it called? Thank goodness Dweller doesn't have a water monster on it, an ice hand on it, or you'd be taking a ton of damage. But the fact that he had his what do you call that guy? The fact that he had his Mother Grizzly warning, it kind of takes out one of Probability's best cards, per se, because Bottomless, it'll be somewhat live against this deck. You know, you can't use Bottomless on Lancer, and you can't. I don't even think you can special summon Lancer, can you? No, I think you can. I think it's when you normal summon it, you get its effect. Anyways, he got himself a Swap Frog. He has not used its effect yet, so I assume at this point he's gonna start loading up his graveyard. At the very least, I think he's putting one Rodent Totem in there, and I think he's gonna just sit on Rodent Totem. It's gonna be interesting. He's not gonna make any big pushes there because, you know, he's used his battle phase already. So you see that he uses Rodent Totem, or excuse me, he uses Swap Frog's effect to drop Rodent Totem in there. That was a normal summon, so we might see Rodent Totem come down and just sit in the field in defense mode, just chilling. You know what I mean? I have to wonder what some of these back rows are. I'm gonna say one of them is Trap Stun. I believe that one of them might be Trap Stun. All right, so we see Dupe Frog get banished. And we see Swap Frog come out. Okay, now we see it's getting a little real, guys. We see an Infernal Reckless summon. It's getting a little real. All right, so Infernal Reckless. This is another reason why I kind of want to net deck this deck. And now we're seeing some Dupe Frogs come out. Are we gonna see oh shit, 3 of them. We see Bottomless. He's gonna use Trap Stun. I'll bet everything that I own on that shit. Give me everything you own. I called that shit. So Probability's gonna chain. He chains Double Cyclone, and what is he going to target? He's targeting this card right here that's right in the middle of the set cards, and Torrential Tribute, and what else are you? I'm not sure what Probability is targeting, because you target one that you control and one that your opponent controls. So what's going on? Please no rulings, because I don't want this great game to be like really fucked up by rulings. Okay, so he changed Needle Sealing. Wow, that sucks. That really sucks, man. Magic got hit with Needle Sealing. That's unfortunate. Now everybody dies. So you see that Magic attempted to go off. He ended up getting hit with Needle Sealing. Oh yeah, okay, so I guess he chained the card that he used, and the card that he used was Needle Sealing. Advantage-wise, Probability is +1, but Magic does have Rodent Totem, which he can just keep using over and over and over and over again. Now, I know for a fact that he likes to use that Infernal Reckless Summon a lot, and it looks like if he hadn't run into Needle Sealing, he would have been pretty much off to the races. So Magic is going to have to, you know, it's going to have to regroup, figure it out, and come back probably with a stronger play if he doesn't just outright lose. It's hard to see him getting OTK'd or something like that with 6,100 life points. Anyways, we saw Warning used, we saw Infernal Reckless Summon used. So Ice Hand attacks for 16, and I think he gets it in for 16. Yes, he does. Probability is probably going to set a couple of cards, which he does. Sets 2, sets 3, and he's probably going to pass back to Nazic. Nope, he sets everything, and then he passes back. Alright, so Magic draws. You wonder if he's going to Duality, or if he's going to want to get some protection on board with the ever so defensive Rodent Totem by banishing some of those Des Frogs. I know he also plays, Is it Croak King? What you guys know, the card that when you control like 3 or 4 Des Frogs, you just blow up your opponent's entire fucking field. He plays that shit. He's used it against me a couple of times. All right, so he goes for Rototonin, removing Swap Frog, and he goes for Infernal Reckless Summon again. Wow. So does Probability have any responses? Now he's burned Warning already, and he's burnt Bottomless. So I guess he could still have Torrential. Magic's Torrential was burnt by the Double Cyclone, and you're wondering if Probability is going to have any type of responses here. Now I'm trying to think of what 5 he can use to potentially get rid of this fucktard. He can't go into Polite. Thank God Polites is only fucking thank God that Polites is only level 5 or level 5 light monsters, because oh my god, that would have been like the dumbest card ever. They would have had to limit Polites if it was like any rank 5s, if it was generic. Alright, so Probability is thinking here about his move, and here's the thing, if he uses something like Sanctum, well, no, he will wait until the monsters are summoned. So he gets all of his Dupe Frogs back, and Probability is going to get all his Fire Hands. So that's interesting. He didn't draw any of them. They're all on field now. And you're wondering if we're just going to see clashes or what? What is going to happen here? I think if Probability has the Needle Ceiling, he could be in great shape, because he could just like, he could go for like Zemayo, try and torch all the back row. Maybe it gets Black Horned or something like that, and then you activate Needle Ceiling to kind of pop all of these guys, and hopefully you have something on board where it won't die, or you know, you make Terrace or some shit like that, then Needle Ceiling. That'd make a lot of sense too. Arm Ninja, that's another option too. Yeah, you go Arm Ninja and then Needle Ceiling and just blast all these motherfuckers off board. You don't really care so much if this dies. Although your opponent would target this, so that, yeah, that might be a problem. Anyways, players up the Magic. He has to think about what rank 5 Xyz he wants to go into, and I know he's probably looking at his extra deck. He may not have taken into consideration that his opponent would have summon 3 copies of Fire Hand. You know, it's a lot of times when you use Infernal Reckless Summon, your opponent doesn't special summon anything. So, you know, I mean, Probability looked at it as, hey, why not get a whole bunch of Fire Hands and just wall up? So, it looks like he's going to Xyz. He's going into the extra deck. And what is he going to go for? He goes for Zemayo. That's what I thought. I thought he would target back row. So, he activates Zemayo's effect. Zemayo is going to try and pop what? He activates Traptrix, Trap Hole Nightmare. And Magic doesn't have any response. So, what else is Magic going to do? It's got Des Frog on board, couple of back row. He's finding it hard to fight through the back row. He might even want to go for Royal Decree, just to get rid of all of these traps. I mean, he hasn't seen an Ice Hand yet. The traps seem to be what's beating him right now. Actually, you know what? If you Needle Seed, if you use Needle Ceiling on them, these would die, and yeah, those wouldn't get any effects because they should already be dead from the Needle Ceiling. So yeah, I don't think they would be able to summon any Ice Hands or shit like that. Advantage. Let's count them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on that side. 4, 5, 8 on this side. So advantage fairly even. Slight advantage to Probability. You see he normal summons for Sea Lancer, and he's thinking about, it looks like he's asking if he has a response, maybe a Book of Moon or something. Like, what else could you potentially use on it that this deck runs? I mean, for the most part, this deck is mainly just, it's not a lot of battle phase tricks. It's you know, cards like Trap Hole, or excuse me, Bottomless Trap Hole, the Nightmare Trap Hole, Solemn Warning, Torrential Tribute, stuff like that. Needle Ceiling I would consider more of like a tech card for the deck. So, you know, Evac is a possibility. Breakthrough Skill, I guess those are possibilities too. I don't even think they play Evac, quite frankly. I would say the most likely response here is probably Breakthrough Skill. So Magic is asking if he can activate the effect, and he can only go 2 deep right now. So he gets Dupe Frog and Swap Frog, and he puts both of them in his back row. Now you'd wonder if he's going to start attacking, but I don't know if you want to give your opponent ice hands and shit like that. You know, I mean, you'd imagine that they're going to target the Des Frogs. I mean, he might even go for another rank 5 Xyz, because when you Xyz, I think these fall off and go to the graveyard, and then you just can activate the Dupe Frog again. Swap Frog you wouldn't be able to activate, but whatever. I mean, it would have been better if he had something like a Poison Draw Frog, which I think would trigger from the would trigger when it falls off. I'm not sure about that. Let me not say that and say something potentially that would end up being illegal anyway, and then I end up looking stupid. So probability is thinking and contemplating his actions. I think at this point, more or less, you're trying to read. Oh my goodness, I just thought of something. You could totally use Full House with this, couldn't you? Would those count as face-up Speller Traps? Somebody answer that. Somebody answer if those would totally count as face-up Speller Traps. Alright, so he goes into Crimson Arm Ninja in defense mode. And he's asking probability. I think he's gonna needle ceiling him. Or I think he's set needle ceiling or some shit like that. So anyways, he put it in defense mode and just passed. Obviously, he doesn't want to get potentially 101 or anything like that. And it has a super high defense, so it's, it's like you can't really attack over it. And it's just Armor Ninja or Blade Armor Ninja, Crimson Ninja. Shit. Crimson Ninja is a really just hard card to kill. Because it's not just battle, but it's any type of effects. I mean, even Tiras can get destroyed by battle. You know what I mean? You can run her ass over with, like Star Eater, or you can run her over with Honest or Crane or Collude or something like that. So he goes Crimson Ninja in defense mode, and he just passed turn. Now, let's see. Probability is looking at his extra deck, and I think he's probably trying to think, okay, what Xyz can I make that actually counters Magic? But do I really want to give up my Fire Hands? You know what I mean? They're not really going to do anything against the Crimson Ninja, but they're just good cards in general, so maybe we should probably just keep them. Alright, let's try and think of cards you would use against Crimson Ninja. What targets? That's the problem with why so many decks struggle with Leo, is because, it's like, what gets cards off field but doesn't target? You know what I mean? Like, you look at Crimson Ninja and it's like, how can we get this guy off the field but without destruction? We need an effect that targets but doesn't destroy. I mean, the only one I can think of is 101, but obviously it's in defense mode, and 101 can't even attack over it because he can just activate his effect twice, so that's no good. Probability, have I been calling him possibility, by the way? Probability is still thinking, and the pace of the duel has kind of slowed down, so this might end up being a longer duel video, but I'm sure that you guys won't mind as long as the duel ends up being fairly entertaining. And Magic still has that breakthrough skill in there, very important. And let's see. So is probability going to make a play or not? I wonder what's in his hand. Maybe Maxi. I don't think he runs DD Crow or anything like that in the main deck. I think I played against probability yesterday. I think I beat him. He was playing this exact deck. I think I debunked him a couple of times. Alright, so he's going to rank 4. Finally going to see some action. He might summon, like, Daigusto Emerald if he has enough monsters in his graveyard. I know he has the 2 Traptrix monsters. But I'm not even sure if he has enough to do that. He might go Maestro. I don't know. Come on, probability. Do something. You're already committed to the Xyz. Why would you commit to it if you had no idea what you want to summon? It's going to be very difficult to get over this card. Very, very difficult. So, regardless of what happens. Okay, so he goes 101. He's probably just going to start attacking. He attacks. And what's Magic going to do? Magic activates the effect to protect itself. And Probability sets another card and passes. I think you could potentially see Malevolent Catastrophe sided for both sides, by the way, also. Let's see. Now, Magic could potentially try to attack Honor Arc, but then, man, you kind of open yourself up to all of these back row. Or, you know what I mean, eventually you'll have to put this card in attack mode at some point. So, he activates its effect, putting Death Frog in the graveyard. Now it looks like he's going to attempt battle. Oh, okay, he's going to attack Firehand. Firehand goes to the graveyard, doesn't trigger because he can't destroy any monsters. And looks like he's looking in his graveyard. You might want to activate Dupe Frog to get another monster if this guy ends up getting exorbited by 101. So, what is going to happen here? Magic is looking at his extra deck now, which is interesting. Kind of wonder what he can summon. It's odd. We haven't even seen any artifact monsters from Probability. You know that? I just realized that. We're like 3 or 4 turns into this duel. I think 3 turns in, and Probability hasn't even shown us an artifact monster yet. So, he goes into Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger in defense mode. Wow, 2100 defense. Wow. Just enough defense to say, fuck you. Just enough defense to say, fuck you, Honor Arc. And then he sets a card. Now, he can't... Okay, we see Call to Haunted on the end phase. And I imagine he's going to go for Traptrix Murmilio. Possibly. Yep, he targets Murmilio. MST comes down to stop the Call to Haunted. Probability is thinking. Maybe he has a second Call to Haunted. Who knows? What are you going to do, Probability? I mean, you could just crash into this monster. See where that gets you. It's still Massic's end phase. He's only taking damage from the Solemn Warning, which he gave up of his own volition. And Probability is really thinking. He seems to be an occurring trend in this duel. How much thinking can Probability do? Alright, so he targets his Bug Attack with Artifact Scythe, or excuse me, with Artifact Ignition. Now the thing is, this can actually get breakthrough skilled because it's still Magic's turn. Magic looks like he's thinking now. I think he might end up doing that. I think he might end up using breakthrough skill on it. Because it's still technically his turn, so you know you can still use the quick effect part of breakthrough skill to get your second negate. He does use breakthrough skill. That's why breakthrough skill is so much better than Fiendish Chain. It's like not only does it not sit there and clog up your back row, you get to use the effect twice. And now that artifacts want to be like retarded and just use all their effects during, you know, your turn and shit, that becomes relevant. All right, so we see a Pot of Dichotomy come down. Put a couple of monsters back into the deck, a couple of extra deck cards. Pot of Dichotomy, really good, this format. Mainly because the hat deck mixes 3 archetypes, and most archetypes are comprised of like multiple subtypes. Even, you know, Boojins are winged beasts, Cranes are winged beasts. You know, you got tons of Beast Warriors, and then you got Beast in there like Turtle and Crane, or Turtle and Hare. You know, you look at Madoche, I know that they're Beasts. Just looking at, somebody has to be a spellcaster in that damn deck. There's too many chicks in there that kind of look like magicians to not be at least one spellcaster in that damn deck. And then I know you got Beast Warriors in there because they use Invoker, so you know there's that. Like I mean Tiramisu, right? She's probably like a, what is Tiramisu? She's a queen sitting on like a cupcake or some shit. So that can't be a Beast Warrior. She's got to be a spellcaster. I mean, seriously, you ever heard of a Queen Beast? Like, that doesn't even make sense. Alright, so Probability is walling up. And he just kind of set a monster. Still has his 101 on board. It looks like Magic's not willing to risk his he's not willing to risk his Gaia Dragon on an attack. And looks like Probability is not willing to risk his field on an attack from 101. I guess he figures if he attacks into a hand, his field could get just, well, fucked up to say the least. So, looks like we're kind of at a stalemate. Magic activates Pot of Duality, which sees him get Mother Grizzly, Dupe Frog, and Needle Ceiling. And you have to wonder if he would take the Needle Ceiling. It's pretty, you know, you hate drawing a trap from Pot of Duality and your opponent gets to see it and, you know, potentially play around it and all types of stuff. But that looks like exactly what he's going to do. He takes the Needle Ceiling. He sets a card, sets a second card, I guess to smoke screen where the Needle Ceiling is, and then he just passes. Now, at this point, the duel has gone so long and they seem pretty much in stalemate. You have to wonder if decking your opponent out becomes a viable option. So now we see that Honor Arc is now going to try and get it in. I think that that is a 2000 Frog monster. Nope, it's Mother Grizzly. So Mother Grizzly is asking if he can activate his effect. Now, considering his back row is loaded, I think we might see Swap Frog. Yep, and that's exactly what we see. Swap Frog dumps Rodent Toadnet into the graveyard. And Probability has to go to main phase 2 and probably just end up passing turn. He can't really do much. He just sets another monster and passes back to Magic. It's Magic's turn, and what are you going to do, Magic? I mean, obviously, you can just normal summon your Swap Frog again. Now, Torrential Tribute could be a game buster here for both players. It's just a matter of if Probability is going to use it at the right time because Magic's Torrential is already gone. And nobody ever plays any ways to get traps back in this game. They need to make a, I don't know, pay 2,000 life points, add one trap from your graveyard to your hand. Like, something like that. I don't know, you know. Well, I don't know. Would that be good? Because, like, you wouldn't want to use it with warning, right? Because you'd already pay 2,000, then you have to pay 2,000, then pay 2,000. You'd pay 6,000 life points to use warning twice. I don't know if anybody wants to do that. So, the Swap Frog came down off the normal summon, which dropped Dupe Frog into the graveyard. And, yeah, this duel is completely at a stalemate, although Magic could end up decking out. Although, you'd have to argue that with him only 14 cards in his extra deck, he can potentially get to his game-winning cards first. So, and you'd have to imagine that, you know, Trap Stun plus Needle Ceiling will be part of what he's trying to do as far as, you know, potentially going for an OTK or anything like that. He just has to figure out how to clear boards. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts ramming in the face-down monsters just to get them face-up. You know, because if he plans on doing something big with Needle Ceiling, he might need those monsters to be face-up. And, I mean, he could easily just ram Swap Frog into those guys, make them face-up, make Magic potentially go into an Xyz. I'm not sure what Xyz he would want to go into right now. And Probability, what are you going to do on your turn? I mean, and that, you know what? That could be the one potential problem with artifacts. It's like, if you have like 2 artifacts or whatever, and then you have a whole bunch of like completely reactive traps, and your opponent goes like Trap Stun, what can you do? I mean, I guess you maybe have to always make sure that you have something like Sanctum, like you always have a trap that isn't completely reactive that you can activate at any time. But I mean, let's be real. If he had Sanctum, wouldn't he have already burnt it and just tried to blow up the Gaia and, you know, go in for a game potentially? So, I'm not really reading that. And I think that Magic is trying to thin his deck out. He's trying to take all of his, he's trying to take all of the frogs that he doesn't want to draw. I wouldn't be surprised if he drew like a Swap Frog or one of those, what's it called, if he just said it. Oh, by the way, I know of another card that he plays that could potentially win him the duel. He plays that little frog, not Tadpole, the fucking, it's like Flip-Flop Frog or some shit, the one that that makes it so that you can basically just bounce all your you can basically bounce a bunch of monsters from your opponent's field to their hand. And that can take care of extra deck monsters really quick. So, but I think it's equal to the amount of frogs that you control. You see a Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare comes down on Swap Frog. I think that that's interesting. And I think that Magic might think about that and think about what he wants to do. Now, I've never seen a Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare burnt on a Swap Frog. That's interesting. But I think we might just see Rodent Totem used as a supplement to Swap Frog. Nope, we don't see anything. So probability, maybe he wanted to just get that slot open so that he can put a better non-reactive card like a Book of Moon or something. Okay, well, he must have just wanted to play, maybe he just wanted to play his duality and his back row was locked up. I think he might go Artifact Ignition. Nope, he goes Traptrix Dianoa, or as I like to call, Traptrix Diarrhea. Yes, that's a bad joke there. Anyways, that's a card where I'm looking at it. It's like, I guess he's going to try and exceed with these two first, because otherwise you wouldn't even have room for the other like Traptrix monster that you're trying to summon. So I mean, that's no good. Let's see what's going to happen here. This is a long one, one of the longest game ones that I've ever seen. This would have been a much better video, not for YouTube, but probably for Twitch. I'm still trying to figure that out. The problem is I've got this recording software. Some people suggested it to me. I forget what it's called off the top of my head. The problem with it is, and you see that Magic's now summoning double Rodent Totems. The problem is it just records the screen, and I can't actually, use my mouse to look at the duel, so I can't zoom in on cards. I can't read them and stuff like that. And you see Ghostrix Succubus come down, and that card is a little bit of a problem because basically she can like blow shit up equivalent to the total attack of Ghostrix monsters that you have on the field. So right now she can blow up anything that's 1400 or less, i.e. bug attack. I don't know what her effect is when it gets destroyed. I'm not quite sure that it's relevant. If she has one, it probably has to do with like Ghostrix monsters or some shit like that. Anyways, I know that if you have two of them, it kind of creates like a soft lock. So yeah, oh yeah, that's right. You can't use the what's it called? Now probability can't use that monster zone. I totally forgot about that. So unless she dies, you can't use that monster zone. That couldn't be a permanent effect. That would be ridiculous. Once per turn, and yeah, as long as you control the Ghostrix monster. My mistake. So you see now Magic's getting offensive, and I guess he has a little bit of house money here because he can just go Rodent Totem for defense if he needs to. So I mean, it looks like he's going to try and make probability use some of those back row cards. I mean, just like eliminate them. So you see Artifact Sanctum comes down, and Magic is thinking about what he's going to do here. I mean, you'd imagine he's going to go for the blue artifact. Because, I mean, he can only go for one monster, so it's not like he's going to get the red one and pop cards, because that wouldn't make any sense. You wonder which one. Well, obviously, if he goes for the blue artifact, he's going to use it to pop Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger. So we're at kind of a thought process here. Now, the thing is, okay, so he goes for Maxi. I was like, Magic's only shown one breakthrough skill this game, right? In a deck of like 40 cards, that's a little interesting. So Magic draws a card, and he does have the second breakthrough skill for the blue artifact. That's what I was thinking. I was like, he's only used one breakthrough skill for this entire game. Like, isn't that a little strange? Now, here's the thing. We could see a play where Magic tries to go double of the Succubus, and I know you can't attack them. Yeah, I know you can't attack them if you control two. It's kind of like the dupe frog lock or some shit like that, because I had to deal with that when he had that shit out against me too. So he's looking at his graveyard and thinking about what he's going to do here. He already burnt his breakthrough skill to protect his Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger. You'd imagine that if he doesn't do any further plays, his Ghostrix Succubus will just get blown up by will get blown up by, well, she can just get ran over by either this or this or this or this, something like that. Now, you know what? I just thought about that. Maybe the other reason he didn't want to put Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger in attack mode is because he didn't want hands crashing into them. You know what I mean? That could have been another option there too. So, okay, we see Downward Magician come down in main phase 2. And she just, you know, gets a little bit of attack and stuff like that. And I wonder if her effect just fizzles away. So, okay, now we see Ice Hand come down. Ice Hand will be able to blow up cards, but aren't all 3 Fire Hands gone? Because he got them out from Infernal Reckless Summon. So, we probably are going to see an Ice Hand crash. Okay, so we see Ice Hand crash into Downward Magician. And what's going to potentially happen here? Magic says, okay, I have no response. Probability eats 1100. And Magic activates Downward Magician's effect. Trap Stun goes bye-bye. Okay, so my mistake. He put some of the hands back with Pot of Dichotomy. My mistake. And now we see Fire Hand comes down for Magic. And Downward Magician. What's your effect? I mean, I know that she gains the attack and she has the piercing. Oh, okay. If the card is attacked during, then you, what's it called? If the card is attacked, then you detach a material. All right. So it looks like Magic is going Hand Patrol on, or excuse me, it looks like Probability is going Hand Patrol on Magic. And I guess each time that she gets attacked, she gets a little weaker. So, we just saw Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger get blown up by Probability's Fire Hand. We see another Ice Hand come out. And what's he going to do? So he actually ended up losing 2,500 life points in that exchange there. But I guess he figures if it gets him what he needs, there's no reason not to do it. So Downward Magician ends up taking 2,100, or excuse me, ends up getting crashed by Silent Honor Arc. And then he gets hit with Muratech, direct attack. And he ended up losing a couple of spell and traps in the process. You know, I think that Magic could probably benefit all the exceeds that he's making from a card like Pod Dichotomy himself, help him keep up with some of the meta decks. You have to wonder if either one of these players can get to the one big attack that they need. I mean, they're all pretty much in that one kind of rah-rah push category to where they could potentially win the game in one battle phase. I would say more so Probability than Magic, obviously, because Probability is only at 2,400 life points. I mean, Probability can also make Cowboy to do 800, so he really only has to do 1,600. And Magic is going to need to make his play right here and now. You have to wonder what is going to happen. And how many hands does Probability have left? I don't think he has any left, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he didn't summon any more hands to the field, so he is all out of hands. And he's not going to use any more dichotomies because he probably wants to use his battle phase. He's not going to try and rely on using Cowboy like 3 or 4 times. That would just be silly. So Probability is thinking about what he's going to do. And Magic is probably thinking, how can I get 3,000 damage? Probability's thinking. Now, I know he does play Volcasaurus. I wonder if he plays double Gaia Dragon Thunder Charger. I would, because that piercing effect is just fucking too good. And if you could make Volcasaurus and blow one of these up and then pierce into this, that shit would just be maximum heightness. Because nobody plays a Fat Veiler. Let's just acknowledge that. Now, did he use? It doesn't matter. You can't use Breakthrough Skill a second time on your opponent's turn, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. So I guess that Magic is thinking, or Probability is thinking about what his opponent has face down. What are those other 3 cards? He says another Needle Ceiling, perhaps. So he summons he summons Traptrix Dianoa, which gets Myrmilio, activating the effects, targeting the first card, which has been set forever. I don't think that that's a needle ceiling. It's Bottomless Trap Hole, which I assume he's going to burn on the Myrmilio itself. Nope, he doesn't use it. I guess maybe it targets that resolution. I don't know. So regardless, he didn't use the Bottomless Trap Hole. So he goes for Daigusto Emerald in defense mode. I think he's just looking to draw a trap here. I mean, whatever monsters he puts in his hand, unless they're like max C, I think he's I don't really think that he's thinking about drawing more artifacts or drawing more, you know, hand cards or whatever. He's just thinking about potentially drawing another trap. He gets one card out of that transaction, and I would be shocked if he didn't set another monster. But you have to wonder, how many legit traps does Probability have left? He does have Torrential Tribute. Torrential Tribute is definitely a thing for show. He sets another card, passes turn, sets two, passes turn. So it pretty much all comes down to this turn right here. Can Mazik pull off the impossible and potentially win this game right here and now? It's going to require a little bit of thinking. He only has 9 cards in his deck. Damn. He's pretty much just used everything possible. Like, he drew everything. Alright, so we see Rodent Totem come down. Are we going to see another Infernal Reckless Summon? Yes, we do. We see another Infernal Reckless Summon. Probability has to think about what his response is potentially going to be. I guess he put the hands back in his graveyard, back in his deck, because this is probably a hand right there. So, what's it going to be, Mazik? Or what's it going to be, Probability? Now, obviously, you can't use the effect of your... I mean, you can't use the effect of Infernal Reckless Summon because, I mean, has to be 1500 or lower, right? Yep, 1500 or lower, and this guy's 21. Alright, so we see we see 3 Death Frogs come down. How the fuck did this guy get on field? Wait a minute. Okay. If your opponent controls and face up, they can summon all. Oh, my bad, my mistake. They can use any of them. Okay, well, whatever. He uses Breakthrough Skill. My bad. For some reason, I thought it had to be 1500 or less. I guess it has to be 1500 or less for you to activate for it to be the initial target. Yeah, okay, yeah. For it to get the initial, like, summon off, I think he's going to go on the Volcasaurus. The thing is, does his opponent have Traptrix, Trap Hole, Nightmare to stop the Volcasaurus play? He goes into Volcasaurus, and it looks like he's going to activate the effect. Now, he has 321s to work with, so, I mean, I imagine any of them will do. He activates it probably on one of the artifact monsters. I don't really think it's that relevant here, to be honest. He uses it on blue artifact. He eats 2100. And you have to think maybe main phase 2 he'll go, or excuse me, still in main phase 1, if he plays a second Gaia, he'll go into that. He really needs to play 2 Gaia. I mean, I've seen people lose because they don't play multiple Gaia. Okay, maybe not. He's going to normal summon his Swap Frog. I think he's going to dump the last Rodent Totem into the graveyard just to further exceed his plays. I mean, you pretty much want to max out at this point. You know, why wouldn't you? He might summon it. Unless he does have that card that blows up your opponent's entire field. Okay, so he bounces Des Frog to the hand, and now it looks like he's going to exceed into a rank 2 exceed. He goes into Herald of the Pure Light, and he wait. Probability is thinking here. Maybe he's going to use some type of response or something like that. I mean, outside of Book of Moon or Torrentials, like, what are you really going to do? And you really, really, really don't want a Torrential. You really don't want a torrential. Probability is thinking here. He has 900 life points to Mazic's 2400. I think that this turn will really decide the duel. And I think what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to upload this duel as multiple parts, guys. I don't think it makes any sense to make a video that's like an hour long. That's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to break this up into multiple parts. We see an Artifact Sanctum come down. Mazic says, that's cool. I ain't got no response for that. And we might see the last blue artifact come down, unless it's in his back row. If it's in his back row, that's a problem. We have one blue artifact that's dead. We have a second one on board. Where's that third guy at? I don't think it's in his hand. It's either in his deck or it's one of these 4 back row. Artifact Sanctum is chained. Artifact Sanctum for Frog OTK. Now you have to wonder if Frog OTK's going to trigger. Nope, Frog OTK's not going to trigger. And probability activates Herald of the Pure Light to add Des Frog to his hand. He says Beagle's mandatory. So, okay, yeah. He ends up popping his last blue artifact, which it was on field. I think what he's going to do, okay, so what he does is he puts his, what's it called? He puts his Des Frog back into his deck, and I think, oh man, this is going to be, oh man, okay, so he tributed his pure light for Des Frog, and now he's going to activate Des Frog's effect. I think he's going to go into a second Volcasaurus. If he goes into a second Volcasaurus, he'll win. So probability is asking for 1 sec. He says after the summon, okay, don't go for Torrential Tribute, dude. You don't want to Torrential Tribute the field. If you go Torrential Tribute, he'll summon Rodent Totems and he'll go Digesto Phoenix and just win. Even if you if you needle sealing, maybe not. That face down monster pretty much is the one thing that is helping you immensely in this duel. So probability is still thinking after the summon. I mean, there is a very possibility. Okay, so he activates Needle Sealing, which can be the one card that ends up winning him the duel. Okay, Needle Sealing is going to resolve. Everything dies. Two Needle Sealings in the main deck. That's incredible. I wouldn't think that anybody would play 2 Needle Sealings in the main deck. And I guess it's 2 decks that constantly want to go off. You know, so why not? Mazic didn't have the trap stun for it. Mazic is looking at his extra deck, and I think he's thinking of ways that he can potentially still try and win. I'm not sure if there's a way to fight through this hand card that we assume that is. Although we don't know what Mazic's face downs are. So we see a Rodent Totem summon from the Swap Frog. And what are we going to get here? Okay, he just passed his turn. I guess he thought about it and said, okay, well, I can't win that turn, so I might as well just pass it. I mean, I think if he didn't Needle Sealing, he was going to lose the game because he could have just made a second Volcasaurus and he could have just popped another guy. But, I mean, both players are pretty much in shambles. It's 5-on-3, but they basically both need 1 shot to win. You know, Mazic's at 2,400. Probability is at 900. So we've got an incredibly tight and competitive duel here. This would have been great for streaming, man. Probability is just setting up monsters, and he's so lucky his opponent can't go into Cowboy. You wonder maybe if he's going to try and deck his opponent out. He plays Duality. Mazic does. Solemn Warning, not sure if you want that. Mother Grizzly, not sure if you want that. Mystical Space Typhoon, maybe that. He takes Mystical Space Typhoon. Now, I think he might play 3 Infernal Reckless Summons. So if he can get to the 3rd Infernal Reckless Summon, maybe he can go for Gaia Dragon, the second one, and potentially, you know, run through a low defense monster and win. He also has Trap Stun. You have to think of ways for him to fight through the back row, because we know that there is going to be a Torrential Tribute coming. We know that there are some monsters that, there are some monsters that could potentially win Magic this game. He just has to be able to do it before he decks out. And I'm not sure the greatest idea. I mean, probability walling up is pretty much, it's like the best plan right here. Just, you know, wall up and hope that your defense can be somewhat uncrackable. I mean, you've needle sealing the guy twice. You should generally win in a duel where you do that. All right, so we see Rodent Totem come down once again by removing Swap Frog. I think all the Swap Frogs are gone, and we're going to see an Xyz here. He goes into Herald of Pure Light. Does Herald get anything, or is it just monsters? Target one monster in your graveyard, add the card from your hand to the... I think he's going to try it again. I think he's going to go Herald of the Pure Light, and I think he's going to add that fucking Des Frog card to his hand. He's going to try and tribute summon. Oh, no, he goes Sea Lancer. Okay. He goes for Sea Lancer. And he adds a card back to his deck. He shuffles it. And maybe he's going to activate Sea Lancer's effect. He tributes Sea Lancer. This probability have... Do you have... Okay, so... Once again, probability is thinking. We now have to not worry about warning. He already used warning anyway. I won't worry about that. Probability is thinking. What are you going to do? He says, okay, Magic's going to activate the effect. What do you have in there? He goes Dupe Frog and Dupe Frog. So, he goes double Dupe Frog. You have to think maybe he's just going to start attacking now. Alright, he goes double Dupe Frog on the Sea Lancer. Yep, I think he's just going to start attacking now. I think he's just going to potentially start ignoring the back row. We see Traptrix Myrmilio, which was a bluff. And Magic says, alright, well, I'm just going to start attacking. Because you may have too many reactive cards to potentially crack what I have on board. I've got a 2300 beater, and I'm not sure if you play any D Presidents. Like, if I'm Magic, I'm just going to keep attacking for 5 more turns. You see he attacks again. It's an Ice Hand. He pops a card. It's a Mystical Space Typhoon that we knew that he set out. He gets a Fire Hand, but that Fire Hand's not going to do anything. Magic is probably going to do... What's he going to do with his newly drawn card? He's going to leave it in his hand. Nope, he sets it. I'm going to read that as a Mother Grizzly because we now know that Mother Grizzly is still... We knew that it was still in Magic's deck. So Magic says, never mind, he's not going to put it on... He says he's not going to put it on board. Probability could have, like, Call a Haunted set. He could have... He could have Call It a Haunted set. He could have... Obviously, some Artifact Monsters set. He could have the Artifact Ignition set. He could have the Trap card, the Sanctum set. So it's going to be interesting to see how this duel pans out. This is a really, really good duel. This is like YCS level shit. This is why I love playing on Dueling Network. You just get high quality duels. I mean, a lot of times you get 2 players who know what they're doing, and you get some really good duels. So I'm not even sure if these Sea Lancer, if he has to pop a Dupe Frog, I'm not sure if he even has anything in his graveyard to get. Quite frankly, I mean, not in his graveyard, in his deck. I'm not sure, with only 5 cards in deck, I'm not sure if he has anything in his deck left to actually get. So, I mean, all of this, and this is just game 1, people. This is amazing for game 1. All right, we see a Call of the Haunted during the end phase. Maybe he's going for Myrmilio to try and pop a back row. Magic doesn't have any response. I can't remember if he put 101 back in his deck. Yep, he goes for Myrmilio, which I thought he would. And it gets Mystical Space Typhoon, so you can forget about that. Alright, probability goes... he starts his turn. He sets a card in his back row. Magic only has 4 cards in his deck. He really has to get going here. He attacks. Fire Hand. He activates Breakthrough Skill on the Lancer attack. That's going to suck. Both cards go to the graveyard. And Des Frog activates. Oh, my bad. I totally forgot that you can use... I totally forgot that you can use that Dupe Frog can get shit from the graveyard. I'm lunching. He says, yeah, they all fall off due to the Breakthrough Skill. So they all fall off through the breakthrough skill, and they all activate. What is your defense, Firehand? It's 1,000. So we're gonna see an Ice Hand come down from what's it called? We're gonna see an Ice Hand come down from Magic. And he was able to add back 2 of the Des Frogs. He removes the Duke Frog to get Ronin Toten on board, and then he just sets a card. And then he's going to set another Speller Trap. We now know that he probably has the 2 Des Frogs in his hand. Wow, Duke Frog, you are amazing. I did not even realize that you got cards from the graveyard too. I always thought that it had to be from your deck. So I guess it's just like the ultimate toolbox. You have to wonder if Magic is waiting to draw Trap Stun so that he could potentially go for Gaia Dragon if he plays a second Gaia Dragon. I can't technically confirm that he plays a second one or not. Although, if he plays another one of that Herald of the Orange Light card, couldn't he just put Gaia Dragon back into his extra deck? Using like any other card in his deck? I guess yeah, he could do that. Okay, so we see a Tribute Summon for Des Frog, and you get cards from the deck or the hand. So he special summons a second one from the hand. And what is he going to go into? He goes into Volcasaurus. If his opponent doesn't have a response to this, he's going to lose. You have to wonder if he has another breakthrough skill or something. Or a Traptrix Trap Hole Nightmare. Magic activates the effect on Ice Hand. And he scoops it up! Oh, shit! Oh, incredible! Incredible! Okay, guys, thank you for watching. I will upload Duel 2 very shortly.